Welcome to the WDW Reflections Podcast. Here, we'd love to talk about the Walt Disney World Resort, the way we remember it, how it's changed, and why we still enjoy visiting the most magical place on Earth. So come with us on a podcast journey as we reflect on the WDW Reflections Podcast. Hey y'all, welcome to the WDW Reflections Podcast, your unofficial guide through Disney World and all things Disney memories and their connections to the parks that we know and love today. I'm Dewey, one of the hosts of the show, coming to you from my home in Delaware, and this is episode number 51 of the WDW Reflections Podcast. We thank y'all for being here with us. Before we get into this episode's main topic, we'd like to invite y'all to connect with us through all of our show's social media accounts. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube, and on Twitter. And don't forget all things WDW Reflections Podcast. Head on over to our website at wdwreflectionspodcast.com. All right. So with that out of the way, let's get started with the show. Coming to us from Cleveland, Tennessee, my good buddy, Ron. How's it going, Ron?
Doing well. It's been a bit, but
excited. It has been a bit.
It has. And so I'm excited about being here and just having some fun today.
We haven't recorded since September. And we try to do at least one show a month, and we're squeezing this one in. We're recording this on the 29th of October, so we are getting it done in the month of October. So good to see you, Ron.
Good seeing you.
And how about my good buddy coming to us from the Big Apple, my good buddy Tony G. What's up, Tony?
Hey guys.
Okay.
But it's been a while, and in this whole time I've grown a year older, and Disney's turned 100 years old, so it has been a long time since we've done a show.
Well, I don't think it's been 100 years, but it has been a month.
It's felt like 100 years.
It has. I went into Lowe's a couple of days ago. I had to get something, and all the Christmas trees and stuff were up, and I was like, okay, I guess it's Christmas. So you're right. I did see.
So I want to do a poll real quick, impromptu, because this is an argument in our house. Not an argument, but a debate.
A debate.
When does the Christmas tree go up?
When does the Christmas tree go up?
When does the Christmas tree go up?
For me, after Thanksgiving at some point, traditionally.
Okay.
Yes.
Way after, usually.
Traditionally, my family, when I was a kid, we would always put it up the Friday after Thanksgiving. So
exactly. Yes.
Turkey on Thursday, tree on Friday.
Yes.
Me, I'm a December guy. You know, it's October, let's have orange and black and pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns or whatever. Turkey is in November and Christmas trees are in December. That's just me. You know,
sounds like a song.
Very, like in a box kind of guy. You know, it's got to be here and here and here, you know. I guess the military did that to me, but yeah, these folks that are putting up Christmas trees and stuff, and you know, like Disney does in October, that drives me out of my mind.
My wife has decided Christmas begins on November 1st.
Well, you might want to show her a calendar because it is indeed not in the month of November.
Yeah. So my thing is that you celebrate Thanksgiving, and the Friday after Thanksgiving begins the holiday season.
Yeah.
Or the Christmas season.
Yeah,
Black Friday.
It was always like that in my house too.
And even the Macy's Day Parade agrees with me. They bring in Santa Claus at the end of the parade. So
that's the thing. As soon as Santa Claus appears,
on Thanksgiving night, I'm not opposed to that, but looks like I'm gonna have a tree up probably November 1st.
Well, technically, I mean, speaking Disney wise, it's okay because they do that at the park, and they've got a movie called The Nightmare Before Christmas, which takes place between Halloween and Christmas, so you can celebrate for months.
I actually, when I first saw that come out, I was not super thrilled about the idea of that movie, but it's a really good movie. Actually,
it is a good movie. The title's kind of weird, but it is a weird movie.
Not sure if you know this, but actually, The Nightmare Before Christmas is not actually, it has nothing to do with that movie. It's actually putting up your Christmas tree in November. That is the Nightmare Before. That is literally what it is.
There you go.
So
sorry to interrupt our intro, but
we agree with you. Not that that's going to get you any headway.
Exactly.
But good luck with that. So, oh, good times. Why are we talking about Christmas in October? We're just as bad as they are.
Hey, by the time we get together again, it'll be New Year's. So
no, we got to be better than that. All right. So this week we're going to get back to what we like to call the bread and butter of the show, kind of what we envisioned for the show when we began it over 2 years ago, which is crazy to think. Episode 51. So yeah, this has been going on for 2 years. But we're going to get back to Walt Disney World attraction history. That's kind of how we started the show. So this episode, we're going to go back and talk about a Walt Disney World opening day attraction, the Country Bear Jamboree. So I made a joke with Ron earlier, and because as we all know, he has not seen the Tiki Birds. He's not seen, that's not even what it's called, the Enchanted Tiki Room. So before we started the show, I said, Ron, so before we record this one, you've seen it, right? And he has confirmed that he has, in fact, seen the Country Bear Jamboree. So I think we're safe to record this one. So, all right.
We were safe to record the other one. You just didn't like that I had an opinion without seeing
Look,
it.
I have actually started a script for Enchanted Tiki Birds, but I want you to see it before we do it. So I need you to get down there. I need you to go see it. All right. So today we're going to delve into the history of a beloved attraction that's been entertaining guests at Walt Disney World for decades, the Country Bear Jamboree. Before we get started, let's set the stage. It's the late 1960s, and Walt Disney World is in its planning stages. Walt Disney had a vision for a magical place where families could escape the real world and step into a realm of imagination, just on the opposite side of the country from the original Disneyland. But this wasn't the only major project being planned by the Walt Disney Productions in the late 1960s. On December 18th of 1965, just a month after the announcement that Disney had purchased 27,000 acres of Orlando, Florida, just south of Orlando, Florida, the Los Angeles Times published a story titled, "U.S. Chooses Disney to Develop Sequoia Resort." This announcement referred to what would become known as the Mineral King Ski Resort, the never-built ski resort that was supposed to be in the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. The resort was going to be 227 miles north of Los Angeles in the Sequoia National Forest. Walt was sure that the skiing, hiking, and other outdoor activities would keep visitors close to the resort during the daytime hours, but he was concerned that guests would venture away from the resort at night. And when they leave the resort, they take their money with them. And you know Disney can't have that, right? So even way back in the 60s, that was the way they were thinking. So Walt wanted to find a way to keep them on property there at that Mineral King Resort. An excerpt from the book Disneyland, The Nickel Tour by Bruce Gordon and David Mumford explains how Walt envisioned keeping these guests on property. Walt commissioned Imagineer Mark Davis to come up with shows that would keep these folks and their money right there at Mineral King. Walt thought maybe we should do a show that had something to do with bears, Mark recalled. Lots and lots of bears. So I just found that humorous. Lots of bears. Mark Davis sketched dozens of ideas of larger-than-life singing bears, and the original plans were to have many bears singing all styles of music. As Imagineer Walter Rogers recalled, Walt's plan saying the drawings that Walt saw had all kinds of bears, not just a country band, but jazz band, a circus band, lots and lots of choices. And as we all know, following the passing of Walt Disney, the Mineral King Resort was never built. But we also know that good Imagineering ideas never die. So as the Magic Kingdom began to take shape, Imagineers were tasked with creating attractions that would captivate visitors. With the change in location from the Sierra Nevada mountains of California to Central Florida, when the decision was made to bring the Country Bears to bring the Bears to Florida, they decided to give it a more Florida feel. That meant focusing on bluegrass and country western music, popular genres in the South, and the addition of mentions of Florida in the script. The Country Bears featured a cast of animatronic bears with distinct personalities, like Big Al, Liverlips McGraw, and Henry. Mark Davis's inspiration for the characters created for the Country Bear Jamboree came from a variety of places. When Henry, our Country Bear host, introduces Trixie, he tells them they're about to enjoy a special treat out of Tampa. And when he introduces Bunny, Bubbles, and Beulah, the trio of sad singing country bears, he calls those little sunbonnets from the Sunshine State. When Henry refers to Liverlips McGraw as the Miami Serenader, and he tells us that Big Al grew up in the swamps that became Walt Disney World. So all of those little Florida-isms, I guess you could say, became a part of the new script when Mineral King kind of fizzled out, and they brought it back to life for the Florida park. So those inspirations that Mark Davis took to create these characters were from a few different places. Henry and Wendell were based on a comedy country western duo known as Homer and Jethro. And just like Henry and Wendell, Homer played a guitar and Jethro played a mandolin. In later interviews, Mark Davis also said he based the look of Wendell on fellow Imagineer Harper Goff, who, like Wendell, was also a picker. He played banjo, whereas Wendell was playing that mandolin. So what I found interesting when I was doing research for the show is, Disney doesn't do anything halfway. They never just halfway do anything. And I found not only do obviously all the characters, all the bear characters have names and stuff, but there's actually a really elaborate backstory. Every character has at least a paragraph that tells us, a little bit about their backstory. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just want to throw in a little bit of information for you. So Henry, we know Henry is the MC, the master of ceremonies. He stands 6 feet tall in his stocking paws. He was a famous football player before he entered show business. So all kinds of just like crazy backstory stuff. Gomer was the piano player. He didn't always play country and western music. He was a classical piano player. The Five Bear Rugs, the big band, they began playing music together when they were in first grade. And here you go. Here's some funny stuff. 15 years later, they're still playing together in fourth grade. It's just silly. That's just funny. Wendell was a frustrated basketball player, and he quit the game when in a team photograph he discovered he came up to the other players' knees. So Wendell's a little fella. So just a couple of, I just wanted to throw a couple of those out there. It's just really, really amazing to me that somebody sat down and was like, okay, these animatronic bears, we got to give them a backstory, so they're believable or something, that like, I feel like that happened in a boardroom, and they're like, yeah, let's make these bears backstories believable. These bears that play guitars and sing, just good, just funny to me. Just funny to me.
I think it's very important for them to do that in order to create, bring them to life a little bit more.
Funny thing is, when I was reading all of this stuff, they said one of the reasons why it kind of fizzled out with the backstories and stuff is as this attraction moved across the world to other parks, the backstories being, Florida swamp and all that stuff didn't really fit, because when it made it to Disneyland, it wasn't supposed to, the setting wasn't a Florida swamp or whatever. It was like the North Woods of Northern California, where these bears came from. So some of the backstory, I guess they kind of, put that out of the focus or whatever, because the backstory didn't fit for the other parks in other parts of the world.
So they wrote the backstory before they wrote the script and chose the songs. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. They were developing. I guess it probably was happening at the same time, because the people writing the script weren't the ones putting the music together. It was obviously a team. So, that kind of stuff. So it was probably happening at the same time, but it just blows me away that, it's not just a roller coaster. When you're talking about Disney, it's
The small details.
Yeah, absolutely. Small details. And like I said, I'm just reading the first 2 or 3 lines from each of those biographies. They're literally at least 6 or 8 lines, a pretty decent sized paragraph for every one. So it just blows me away that they sat down and did this for animatronic bears. But that's why Disney's special. So we talked about a little bit of the script. We talked a little bit about the characters, but what do you think is probably the most important piece of the Country Bear Jamboree? What do you guys think? What have I not talked about yet?
Music.
The music. That's right. Absolutely. So the music for the show was just as colorful and honestly hilarious as the characters. Many of the songs were simply cover versions of actual country western songs that had references and puns and stuff like that was already within them. They didn't even have to write songs special for the show. They already had comedy in these songs. They just made it a little bit more funny because they had a bunch of bears singing it. So for the sake of time, I don't necessarily want to talk about every single song that is in the show, because I've got a list here. I'll just go down the line. The 5 Bear Rugs, My Woman Ain't Pretty, but She Don't Swear None. That's one of my favorites. Mama Don't Whip Little Buford, Tears Will Be the Chaser for My Wine. Pretty Little Devilish Mary, How Long Will My Baby Be say that 5 times fast. How Long Will My Baby Be Gone? All the Guys That Turn Me On, Turn Me Down. Heart, We Did All That We Could. Blood on the Saddle, The Ballad of Davy Crockett. Blood on the Saddle again. Big Al keeps busting in with that same song. Old Slewfoot, and then the finale is Come Again. So that's the list of the songs from the original version.
And think about it, that's an awful lot of songs for an attraction.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't count it, but that's like 12 or something.
Yeah.
And of course, they're not full songs, not
right.
First verse, chorus, second verse, chorus. It's just, minute and a half or so. But that's 12 songs. So I do want to talk about a couple of the songs specifically, though. So for the sake of time, like I said, not going to talk about every single one. But when I was doing my research, I did find a pretty cool little website that had a really detailed kind of, I guess it's a blog, a nice detailed blog about all of the songs and the music from the original show. And so if you're interested, I just want to give a shout out to the place where I found it. It's passporttodreams.blogspot.com. And it was a really cool, I enjoyed reading the whole rundown of these songs. So I appreciate the hard work that they did for us to be able to read some of this information. So one of the several cover songs originally performed by Homer and Jethro, who was that comedy country western duo that I mentioned before. The first one is the Fractured Folk Song, and the second one that they did also was a cover of Homer and Jethro, was Mama Don't Whoop Little Buford. And both of those were based on actual country songs. I just had a few of the lyrics changed for the show. In the case of Mama Don't Whoop Little Buford, that song was based on the tune of an actual song called Beautiful, Beautiful Brown Eyes, written in the late 1940s by Arthur Smith, but performed and popularized by Jimmy Wakely and Rosemary Clooney. They both released the song in 1951. The song's original lyrics say, "I'll never love blue eyes again." But the Imagineers, when they put their twist on the song, that's where they were talking about Little Buford being bad and stuff. They said, "I think you should shoot him instead," which, as we know, has had a little bit of controversy in recent years because of, I guess those are kind of edgy lyrics. But just an example of taking already existing songs and just switching the lyrics up a little bit. You guys ever hear of a fellow named Tex Ritter?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So Tex Ritter has two of his songs that were actually released country western music way back in the 30s and 40s. Tex Ritter's two songs were Blood on the Saddle, which we know Big Al performs a couple of times, and then My Woman Ain't Pretty, which Liver Lips McGraw is the cover artist on that one. That blew me away when I read that those were actual country songs that were out in the 30s and 40s, because Blood on the Saddle, I guess it could be that could come from a John Wayne movie or something,
a cowboy movie or something, yeah.
That, but My Woman Ain't Pretty, that song, I mean, I thought it was written for this show because it's so ridiculous, so ridiculous. But it was an actual Tex Ritter song, so I don't know what they were doing back in the 30s and 40s. But that song is hilarious. I had no idea it was an actual song, so I had a good time learning that. I enjoy learning new stuff. So some of the characters actually resemble by design actually resemble other people. We know that Liver Lips McGraw has this Elvis look going on. But none of the characters, even the ones that sing the Tex Ritter songs, they did not go out of their way to make the bears actually look like the original artists. So those are just a couple of the songs that I wanted to highlight because I just found it so incredibly humorous that those are actual real songs. My Woman Ain't Pretty. I wonder who wrote that about.
I know, it's pretty sad. He probably got a hit on the head after saying that too.
Yeah.
But even a song, all the guys that turn me on, turn me down. I mean,
yes,
you couldn't even back in the 60s, you couldn't even say the word "turn me on." So it's kind of weird that showed up in a song in 1971.
And a real song again. Yeah. That was not written for this show. It was just recorded by a bear, but re-recorded by a bear. I guess I should say.
This is why I can. I'm don't mean to jump ahead, but I could see why they want to update this a little bit, because even words like "blood on the saddle" is kind of morose to be saying when you're sitting there in the park trying to enjoy yourself.
Right, absolutely. And when I was reading through some of this stuff again, back to that Blogspot website that was so helpful, it was talking about, and I think I actually mentioned it later on in the script. I can't remember, but I remember, when I was growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, that in those days, like your school principal carried a paddle around, and if you did something wrong, you got whooped. That was, whether that's right or wrong, and whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it, that's just how the thing. If you did something bad, you got your hind end whooped.
I've told stories about in the 80s when my high school teacher, if you didn't get the answer right in social studies, she would come over and tap you on the head. She'd push your head in, like
with a ruler or something.
No, with her hand. She just go
just whack you in the back.
Whack you in the back of your head. Yeah.
And I mean, and that was, I don't know if I'd say that was normal, but it was
very common. I mean, there was not teachers touching kids. I write left-handed, so I would tend to put my head down to write, and I had a teacher would come and pull the nape of my neck up to make me sit up because I was writing my head down.
Yeah, so we're not going to make this a debate about corporal punishment, but
yeah, that would be a different show.
I guess my point is that when this show came out in 71, right. Mama Don't Whoop Little Buford
yeah,
it wasn't outlandish. It wasn't, people didn't go, oh, they're
right.
going to whoop that baby,
In fact, you laughed at it because it was
right, absolutely.
Funny.
And I remember even when I was a kid in the 80s, it resonated with me. I remember thinking, he must have been bad. He's going to get whooped, because that was normal. You just got whooped if he was bad. So you know, when the show came out in 71, like I said, it was an opening day attraction. Nobody would have even, it wouldn't have made anybody's head turn. Nobody would have batted an eye at it. They'd have been, they would have been laughing at this. I know I was as a kid in the 80s.
Yeah. And also think about the fact that when you go see it, you're so amazed at the animatronics, especially in that time, that you're not necessarily paying attention to what they're singing. You're just kind of amazed at the fact that there are, these things singing at you up there.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's true. Singing, dancing, guitar playing bears.
Right.
Yeah, I think we forget with as much technology that's there and around us today that this probably looks very antiquated to the kids that go to it today compared to because now you can see Chuck E. Cheese and you've got you just see it more often. But I'll never forget when we went into the show and I'm just like, was amazed because we'd never seen anything like this. And then not far after that, Teddy Ruxpin came along and you could have it in your house. So even that was amazing that you could have a little piece of what Disney created now as a toy in your house. So, I mean, it never is far from my mind how beyond its time Disney was, even in a simple attraction like the Singing Bears.
Oh, I mean, goodness. And we're sort of getting off topic here, but sort of not. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen the old school behind the scenes stuff, and we're not talking about, computerized stuff. This stuff was analog. The way they programmed the characters and stuff. It was
these gigantic tape machines in the basement there.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, gigantic tape machines. I mean, it was unbelievable. Nowadays it's all computerized and, it's fine and dandy, but we're talking late 60s when they're, built, or 70, I guess, when they were building the parks and stuff. And, the enormous amount of programming for one character, let alone there's almost 20 bears in this thing, so,
and they've got to be synchronized so that when they sing their mouths move along with the song.
Yes, absolutely,
and move, and not only the mouths, but they're also picking their guitars or their instruments or whatever it is that they're doing.
Piano, there's a piano player going playing piano, so it's super cool stuff. But so is it a little off color humor now about whoop, because you're not allowed to whoop your kids,
right? You can't say that. Yeah,
sure, maybe it's a little outdated, and maybe I'm outdated, but it still makes me laugh. Even in 2023, it still makes me laugh. So
because it's kind of a piece of another. That's how I always see these things. It's a piece of another time. You're watching, especially a show like that. It's done almost vaudeville style, country vaudeville style, and it's presented in such a way that you actually believe that. I remember the curtain, or if there is a curtain, I remember it like parting and people coming down from the rafters and at one part and it's actually presented as if these bears are actually performing this show for you, and you're so taken by that it becomes a fun experience, and you're not necessarily coming back from it saying, oh, I can't believe they sang that horrible song.
Well, and I mean, I'm going to try not to get on my soapbox, but people just take themselves too seriously nowadays.
Yeah.
Nowadays, nothing's a joke. Everything's an offense, and
You're offending me, Dewey.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know that was offensive.
Well, remember the word of the year seems to be problematic. Suddenly, everything that we've enjoyed for all of these years and we've grown up with and we're perfectly fine is suddenly problematic to the youth of today. And I can say the youth of today because I'm really old, but I definitely think that that becomes an issue. However, I'm glad that they instead of again, I don't mean to jump far, but I'm glad that instead of completely demolishing this attraction and saying this doesn't fit in with today's culture, they thought of a way to make it more fun.
Well, we always talk about the triple R's, and so I'm glad that they're not going to destroy this. But spoiler alert, that's coming. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yep.
So I just wanted to talk about the songs for a couple of minutes because really the songs are I guess the Bears are the star of the show, but I think the songs are the star of the show. I think the songs are really pretty funny. And like I said, I thought the songs were written for the show. I had no idea that
Me
they
too.
were
I would never have known that.
Nope. And that blows me away that in the 1940s you could, be driving around in your Studebaker and hear Tex Ritter singing "My Woman Ain't Pretty" on the radio. That just, that just blows me away. So I definitely wanted to touch on that. So the Country Bear Jamboree was a groundbreaking attraction that combined Disney storytelling prowess with audio animatronic technology, a cutting-edge concept at the time, and was an opening day attraction, like I said,
at Walt Disney World.
And
this is one of those weird. This is one of those weird ones that actually premiered at Walt Disney World first before going to Disneyland.
Stop stealing my thunder, Tony.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's actually so. First of all, you just said, at Automatronics, early 70s, that's great stuff. And that is literally was the line I just read from my script. And then the next line is talking about it traveling over to California. So, Tony, did you read my script ahead of time? I think you're
stealing scripts.
Yeah. Or you're clairvoyant or something. I don't know. But you're right. It was such a big hit at Walt Disney World. It became the first attraction from the Florida park to be cloned and sent across the country to California, where it opened in 1972, where they actually built a new land just, I guess, to highlight this attraction. Tony, you're nodding your head. You know what it is.
No, I know what it is, but I'm amazed that that's what they built the land for. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. So Bear Country was the first new area that was built for an attraction like this, and it opened in 1972. So Country Bears was such a big hit in Florida, Disneyland just had to have it. So not only did it spawn a clone for Disneyland, it also found a home in Tokyo Disneyland, and it was an opening day attraction when that park opened in 1983. So the show was a delightful mix of country music and comedy, and it quickly became a beloved part of the Disney experience. The characters, songs, and humor struck a chord for audiences of all ages. Just a few breakdowns. The show featured 18 bears, a raccoon, a bison, a moose, and a stag deer. And we know that those three are the mounted heads on the wall. You guys remember that back in the 80s, when you left the attraction and you went into the mile-long bar, the three heads were mounted in the bar as well, and they would talk to you.
Oh, yeah.
The attraction. You guys remember that?
Right, yeah.
Another super cool thing that has been, lost to time, but that was super cool. So, although some of the songs in the show have received complaints from guests who didn't appreciate the lyrics about blood and corporal punishment, Disney has chosen to leave those songs in the show, reminding guests, and I don't know that they necessarily say this, but hopefully this is the message, reminding guests that songs are tongue-in-cheek and should be taken as comedy and not taken too seriously. As the years went by, Disney continued to evolve, as we well know, and new attractions and technologies emerged. The Country Bear Jamboree faced some changes, including the introduction of a holiday-themed overlay and eventually a shortened version of the show. Do you guys remember the holiday version? Did you ever get to see the holiday version?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I definitely saw that they had it. I can't remember if we went in and saw it or not.
I remember seeing it. It ran, and I'm going to tell you here in a minute, but it ran for a long time, and it was just for the holidays. So something rare in Florida. They do this kind of stuff in California all the time, but pretty rare to see in Florida. But because the show was a Christmas special, the characters in the show were put into Christmas-themed outfits for their various acts, such as winter hats, scarves, earmuffs, things like that. And there were some winter props, such as sleds and skis and Christmas decorations that could also be found on the various set pieces. The show featured a variety of traditional country not country, Christmas. The show featured a variety of traditional Christmas songs. I'm just going to read the list here for you. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Tracks in the Snow. 12 Days of Christmas. Hibernating Blues. I don't know if that's a traditional Christmas song. That sounds like something written for the show. Deck the Halls. Rock and Roll Santa. Blue Christmas. Sleigh Ride. Hungry as a Bear. The Christmas Song. Another New Year. Let It Snow. And then the medley, the last one was a medley, is Let It Snow, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and Winter Wonderland. And that was the whole cast coming together for the grand finale. So the Country Bear Christmas special ran from November of 1984 until Christmas of 2005. And that was the last time that they did the whole overlay for Christmas. So I know I saw this probably, I think I was there in December of 2004. I think is
yeah, we all were. That was the time of the meetup. So I may now you're saying I may have seen it then.
Okay. Wow. I didn't put two and two together. Good call. So that was 2004 was when everybody met down there.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I didn't get to meet you in person, Tony.
No.
Teardrop. So maybe you saw it, maybe you just don't remember. I know for a fact I've seen it. I don't know. That's just like if off the top of my head, I remember being there in December of 2004. So it would have been there. I'm not sure if that's when I saw it or not, but I definitely saw it at least once. So, but did you guys know that that's not the only alternate version of the Country Bear Jamboree? Do you guys know about the other version?
No.
No? Oh boy, I love teaching y'all stuff. So in 1986, Walt Disney World introduced yet another version of the Country Bear Jamboree known as the Country Bear Vacation Hoedown.
Really?
Because the show was a vacation hoedown, the characters in the show donned vacation-themed outfits for their acts, such as summer camp t-shirts, snorkels and raincoats, sailor suits, and swimsuits. With the new show also came some new music. So just a quick rundown again of some new songs for this show. The Great Outdoors, Life's No Picnic Without You, On the Road Again. So that we know that's a Willie Nelson song. So some of these are covers. We Can Make It to the Top, California Bears, which I remember that distinctly as a kid because it was the Beach Boys' California Girls song, but it was sung by the three, Belle, Beulah, and whatever the three girl bears.
Well, I wish they all could be California Bears. Is that what they're singing?
Yes. Yes. And it was, out the California Girl. That's Beach Boys song, right?
Yeah. California Girls.
Yeah. So the Sunbonnets is what those girls are named, or like the name of their group, but they did that. It was, and I know I've got a video that we recorded from when I was a kid that has, I distinctly remember that song being on the video. So that one resonates with me. The next one, Two Different Worlds. I remember that one because it was one of the bears. I can't remember his name. It says here Shaker, but I don't remember a bear named Shaker. But in this show, he was playing a guitar and he had a snorkel on, and he had an octopus draped around him, and the song was called Two Different Worlds, and he was singing, we come from two different worlds, but he's in love with this octopus, and she's like wrapping her tentacles around him and squeezing him and stuff. It was pretty funny. The octopus, her name was Dolores, by the way, in case you were wondering. The Five Bear Rugs did a version of Rocky Top, that old Tennessee song. That's a bluegrass standard. Nature, Singing in the Rain, Ghost Riders in the Sky, On My Way to Your Heart, and then the last one, which was the grand finale, another ensemble piece. Thank God I'm a Country
Bear.
There you go. Not boy. Not boy. Not John Denver singing.
Thank God I'm a Country Bear.
Country Bears. So Thank God I'm a Country Bear. So this version replaced the original version of the show. from 1986, and it played until 1992. So it was there. What is that? That's 6 years. So for 6 years, you didn't see the original version. It was only the Vacation Hoedown. So I know for a fact I've seen that one. Like I said, I've got a video of my childhood. So 86 to 92, I would have been 12 to 18 years old, somewhere around in there. So
I'm guessing I must have seen that too, since my first trip was in 91. So I definitely did everything. So I must have seen that.
Okay. Yeah. Don't remember it. Don't recall.
No,
that.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that version.
Okay. It was pretty good. And I'm trying to think. So my first trip was in 85. So I probably saw the Country Bears, the original show, in 85. But I definitely know that somewhere between 86 and 92, I saw this one because a video exists that my dad recorded of that show, because it specifically has the California Bears song in it. So I remember Gomer, the piano player, he was wearing like a Hawaiian shirt and had one of those straw hats on and everything. And I think there was like a starfish or something on his piano. Like they just had, props and stuff around that, made it seem beachy and like a vacation and stuff. So that was a pretty good version of the show too. But not everybody remembers that there were multiple versions of the show. And that one played, like I said, from 86 to 92. And when it came back in 92 with the original script and all original songs, it was slightly shortened just by a few minutes. So I don't know. I didn't find any information about how they shortened it. I'm thinking they probably took a song out or something, but I didn't find that information. So despite all these changes, the Country Bear Jamboree still holds a special place in the hearts of Disney fans. It's a nostalgic reminder of the early days of Walt Disney World and a testament to the enduring appeal of good old-fashioned entertainment. And one of the things that makes me happy, and I guess why I feel like I have a connection to it, is because it actually is one of the few things that remain that actually came from Walt Disney. He didn't create the show. It was a Mark Davis, that guy was a genius, but creative genius. But it was Walt's idea, just let's do a show with a bunch of bears, and it just spawned from that. But things that came from that era, and that Walt had a hand in, just that means something to me. I feel like I have a connection with that. So that's the good old-fashioned entertainment that the 60s and 70s Disney really embodied. Unfortunately, not all versions of the show have remained. The Disneyland version of the show was lost to history in 2001 when it was sadly replaced by, anybody know? Tony, you've been to Disneyland.
Yes. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
That is correct. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is now sitting in that location. So
I mean, I could see how it's kind of like a country ish area back there.
So I haven't been to Disneyland yet. So is it still called Bear Country? Is that area?
I thought it was called Critter Country, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so even though Winnie the Pooh is a bear, I guess it technically would fit in that area. But so they've changed the name from Bear Country to Critter Country.
I believe so.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
And it's one of the last things that you see right before going into the Galaxy's Edge area. But we touched on this last show. Jen had mentioned that on the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh attraction, there's still a remnant of the original Country Bears, and we specifically looked for it. And it comes in one of the rooms if you turn all the way around, you look up on the wall and you see Melvin, Buff, and Max hanging up there, really up high.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I took a picture of it. If it showed up, I don't remember seeing it in the photos I looked at, but I know that we turned around and took a picture of it. That's
really cool, because I guess that's something they were trying to do, because they when they put Pooh, the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh in Disney World in Fantasyland, it took the place of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. So there's the picture of Toad handing over the deed to Owl in that attraction. So that's pretty cool. I didn't know that they did that in the Disneyland version too. So it's actually the giant heads that
the giant heads. It's actually kind of creepy because Winnie the Pooh is all colorful and fluorescent, and then you turn around and you see this giant deer head with big eyes staring at you. So,
and all three of them are there.
All three of them are up there. They're up in the kind of the rafters.
Yes, wow. I love that. That's cool. I didn't know that. So that's awesome. I'm glad we have a resident Disneyland expert here, Tony, because I haven't been, so I'm lacking in that area. So that's awesome. Thanks for adding that. That's cool. I did not know that. I love it. So thankfully, Walt Disney World and Tokyo Disneyland versions are still entertaining guests daily, which brings us full circle to today. At D23, just a couple of months ago, Disney announced that an all-new show is coming to the Country Bear Jamboree in the Magic Kingdom. So in 2024, the beloved bears will be learning an all-new act. They're going to be singing some of their usual songs and new styles, some country, rockabilly, and bluegrass, but they're also going to be adding a few, I guess, Disney classics, I guess you could say, to the show. And those songs are also going to have a new feel, a new twist to them. So they're going to have, I know for specifically in the D23 announcement, they showed a part of one of the recording sessions, and it was a version of Bare Necessities from the Jungle Book, and it was in a rockabilly style. So, some guitar strumming and some, that kind of style.
And it sounded pretty good. It was a lot of fun.
It does. It sounded really cool. And so that's something for us to look forward to. They're going to throw in some, I guess, Disney IP, which that's kind of their thing, nowadays, but still going to have that Country Bear twist to it. It's still going to be country, western, rockabilly, bluegrass kind of style to some of your favorite Disney favorite classic songs, I guess. And that's the only one we got to hear. That's the only one they talked about. But I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be some Let It Go or something in there. There's got to be some Frozen or maybe some Tangled or something. I don't know.
They'll find a way to put Moana in there somehow.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm excited for that. Just says in 2024, doesn't say when in 2024, but I haven't heard anything about a closure for a refurbishment or anything yet. But heck, today is October 29th of 2023, so we're almost to 2024. So that's probably, I don't know, if it's going to open in 2024, then it's got to go down probably early 2024. So, but I haven't heard anything. From what I understand, there's going to be some improvements to the animatronics. And I've been saying this for years, and I hope they do, and I assume they're gonna make some improvements to the sound system in the Country Bear Jamboree, because it sounds like a 1970s era stereo system. It's not doesn't have that full stereo sound. You don't get the bass, and you don't get that surround sound feel or anything. So I certainly hope that when they're making improvements, and I assume they will, that they're going to add some improvements to the sound system as well. But and I'm guessing they're going to, because those are still the same Country Bear animatronics from the 70s. So my guess is that they're going to update some of those too, maybe to some newer and easier to work on animatronics, because those old ones were on hydraulics. They used actual hydraulic fluid and stuff, and those are hard to work on and a little messy and stuff. So my guess is that it's going to go to the newer versions, but I haven't seen or heard any of those kind of details yet. So there you have it, the fascinating history of the Country Bear Jamboree at Walt Disney World. From its pioneering animatronics to its enduring charm, this attraction has left an indelible mark on Disney history. And it's one of my favorites. I don't know, I don't do it every time I go, but I like to see it. I like to see it at least once a year. My family, not so much, and they moan and groan. I take them on stuff like Country Bears and the Hall of Presidents and the American Adventure. Those are some of my favorites because guess what? They're originals. You know, they're nostalgic and they go back all the way to park opening, both for Magic Kingdom and for Epcot. You know, both of those, all three of those that I just listed. And Country Bears is in that category. The family moans and groans when I make them go into there. But those are some of my favorites from memories from my childhood, and plus it's just, you know, original nostalgic stuff from early Walt Disney World. So I love it. I don't see it every time, but I definitely see it probably once a year at least. So I wish they would bring back the Christmas one. That was fun.
Yeah, that sounds kind of cool. And you said that this is in Japan, but it didn't make its way to Disneyland Paris?
It did not make it to Disneyland Paris.
Which is interesting because I know that side of the world loves the idea of American culture and country music. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, they and gosh, I went to Disneyland Paris in 2005. So some of my memories of that are fuzzy, I guess, because that's what
almost 20 years
18
ago.
years ago. Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
That's crazy.
But I know that that there is you know, like I don't know if they call it Frontierland there, but they do have, you know, I think, gosh, I'm so fuzzy, it's terrible.
Well, they would have the riverboat probably and stuff like that, right?
They had the riverboats. I think they have Big Thunder Mountain. I think.
Right.
Now
Big
I'm
Thunder Mountain.
questioning my memories.
I think they do.
It's there. So they have like a Western section. I can't remember. I don't think. Oh my gosh, I feel old and my memory sucks. But I think they have a Frontierland, but I'm pretty sure that they have that area. You know, I think that they have Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. So it could have gone there. I don't know why it didn't. So, but it wasn't there when I went in 2005, and I didn't find it in my research for this episode. So I'm going to guess that no, it's not there. I don't know why I didn't make it there. Probably budget. Everything is always about budget. So it was probably budget, because I know that at what was then called Euro Disney was over budget, and they were, you know, just bleeding money. So probably had something to do with that. All right, fellas. So thanks for reminiscing on some Country Bear Jamboree memories there with me. That was fun. So not a whole lot to talk about in what's going on in Walt Disney World, what's happening around Walt Disney World. Not a lot of new stuff happening right now currently. I guess that was a few months ago, preparing for the 100th anniversary stuff coming up. Since we last recorded, the Moana Journey of Water has opened to everybody at Epcot over in Walt Disney World. That opened on October 16th. So just I don't know, 10 days or so ago, 20, what's today? Today's the 29th. So 15 days ago, basically. I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to it. I've heard it's pretty, you know, but it's open to guests and everything. So that's kind of new stuff. I did see that Disney's ticketed after hours events that have not been happening since I guess the closures for COVID are going to be coming back in January of 2024. So I guess all of the firework dessert shows and all of those things are going to be coming back starting in January. And so it looks like you can, starting in November, you can start booking those again. Those are cool because it's a limited number of guests that get to enjoy the park. You have to have a ticket to those. So anytime you can be in the parks and there be less people is a good thing. So those are pretty cool. Ice cream novelties, popcorn, beverages, things like that. And you pay an extra ticket fee to get into those, but those are coming back in 2024. So most things are, I guess, just about back to normal. Trams are back, and the Disney dining plan is supposed to be coming back in 2024. And now these ticketed after hours events are coming back. So it looks like slowly but surely, this is probably some of the last things that were closed because of the pandemic. This is some of the last things that that guests have been waiting on that are finally coming back. So I've done a couple. I've only done like the Halloween parties and the Christmas parties, those kind of events. I haven't done any of the firework dessert shows. Have you guys done any of those in the past?
I think a very long time ago I did one of the fireworks shows, but too far for me to remember.
Yeah, we did they had a Pirates and Princess party.
Oh, Princess and Pirates, yes.
And I'm telling you, it felt like we had that place to ourselves. It was incredible.
Well, I remember originally some of the early Halloween parties felt that way too, because they only let in a certain amount.
Yeah.
But those numbers have increasingly grown, and that, it seems like it's the last time I went to one, at least it's been a number of years, probably a decade now, but at least the last one I went to didn't really feel like I had the place to myself at all. It seemed almost as busy as a regular day. It was really, really crowded. And
so yeah, we had that same experience. We've gone to a Halloween party, a Merry Christmas party, and a Princess and Pirate party. And of those three, Princess and Pirates were definitely the least attended. Christmas felt like any other day at Walt Disney World.
right.
And the Halloween, it was definitely less, but it wasn't significantly to the point that I felt like we could have gotten everything in.
Yeah, that was my experience too. So I don't know how many tickets they sell for those
It's confidential information.
But it's good that it's coming back. It's just given, getting back to, the way things were before the pandemic. So that's good news. All right, so let's go ahead and head on over to the last part of our show, the last segment. This is what we call What's Your Favorite? Each episode, one of our hosts brings with them a question to ask the other two guys. Those two hosts don't know the question ahead of time and must answer the question on the spot. So this week, this episode, I'm going to take the What's Your Favorite question, and it's going to connect right back to the subject of our show today, the Country Bear Jamboree. So my question to you fellas is, what is your favorite version of the Country Bear Jamboree? The original, the Vacation Hoedown, or the Christmas special? So Ron, I'll head over to you first. What you got?
Yeah, probably the original. I mean, that's the one I've seen for sure. Seems like I could have seen the Christmas, but it's been too long ago that I don't really recall. And I really do like the original. It's just resonates with me. I like the comedy in it. And it's, like you said, one of the original attractions that was involved with the opening of the parks.
All right, so Ron's going with the original version. Tony, how about you? What's your favorite version of the Country Bear Jamboree?
I like some of the things that you mentioned regarding the Christmas and the alternative version, but the one I'm most familiar with that I can think back on and know that I definitely saw is the original. And that one is it's just a classic. And watching all the different characters come into motion, and present themselves on stage. The way that they do that is just fascinating. It's a lot of fun. Especially is her name Trixie? Is it, who does the little Tammy Wynette type song, comes out and sings? That's, I mean, it's just so fun. And so I would say that version. Although I would love to have seen the Christmas. I'm going to have to look that one up.
So I'm going to go to probably some of the favorite times of my Disney experiences was, when in my childhood, and that would have been, in the mid to late 80s. And the show that was showing then was the Country Bears Vacation Hoedown. And I remember that one distinctly from my childhood, and I loved that one. And like I said, I mentioned earlier, I have video of the sunbonnet singing the California Bears and everything, and I can remember that. So I think that's the one that I'm going to go with, just because I remember it so well from my childhood. So I'm going to go with the Country Bears Vacation Hoedown. So that's 2 votes. You guys both went the original, and I'm the lone wolf today, going with the Vacation Hoedown. So, but any version is good.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I have a follow-up question for you guys. What song are you looking forward to them adding to this new version? Is there obviously a Disney song, but is there a specific Disney song that you would like them to add to the new version that they're doing? Ross?
Wow, that's a good question. I hadn't thought about that.
I'll tell you guys. I'm imagining that they're going to do "You've Got a Friend in Me," because I think it leads. I think it lends itself to the flavor of the show.
That's. I think they need to add "Let It Go."
Let it go.
I'm trying to think of a "Let It Go," a country western version of "Let It Go." That seems like a hard one, but Tony, that's a really good.
Yeah, I like that one too.
I can, I can hear that on a fiddle, that opening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can hear that on a fiddle.
Yeah.
That's good. That's pretty good. Gosh, I don't know. That's good stuff. I'd have to think about that one.
One of my favorite, I've mentioned it before, and I think you have this album too, Dewey, I think it's from 93, 94. One of my favorite albums in my Disney collection is the country version of Disney. I think it's Country Stars Sing Disney or something like that. I love that album. I used to play that over and over and over and over again. And there's neat versions of A Whole New World and Kiss the Girl, or 2 of my. I actually kind of like those versions on there better than some of the originals. But another possibility could be "A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes." I think someone sang that on there. Some of those classic songs. But I know they're going to find a way to sneak in "How Far You'll Go" in there, and
I can see that.
Yeah.
as a country song.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. What about Hakuna Matata?
Hakuna Matata sounds fun. I could see that.
They could do a country version of
Hakuna
Matata. I think.
Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Another one. That's another one from that
absolutely.
album.
That could definitely be a country song.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be fun to see. It'll be fun to see that. I'm glad that Country Bears is not going away. I'm glad that I don't mind them updating stuff and making it more modern or whatever. I'm okay with that. I'm just glad that we're not losing the Country Bears, because it's a classic. It's nostalgic, and I'm glad it's going to be around. So, all right. So that just about does it for this episode of the WDW Reflections podcast. Please find and follow us on all of our social media accounts. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at WDW Reflections Podcast, and on X at WDW Reflections. This podcast can currently be found and played on many podcast platforms, and we'd love it if you'd give the show a follow wherever you listen. And if you love the show, please leave us some feedback on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Those positive feedbacks help the show reach a larger audience and helps us grow. Make sure you check out the website at wdwreflectionspodcast.com. And don't forget, you can always message us from any of those social media accounts, or you can email us at wdwreflectionspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And please keep coming back because we truly appreciate you. Thanks for reflecting on Walt Disney World memories with us on the WDW Reflections Podcast. See you real soon.